us what exactly is the Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communication Management?
Well, we could describe it as the United Nations of public relations, in that it draws together all the national associations of public relations and communication management from around the world. There are about 67 members from Asia, Australasia, Africa, all over the world. And so we try to work together with all the associations to raise standards in public relations and to be an advocate for the profession on a global basis.
And as such, United Nations of Communication, you organize a summit which is called the World Public Relations Forum. Can you tell us about this?
This happens every 2 years, and we hold it in different place every year. And in 2014 we're going to be in Madrid, first time in Spain. The previous World Public Relations Forums have been in Melbourne in Australia and in Stockholm, Scandinavia. So you can see we get around the world for the Public Relations Forum. The idea is that we take a high quality conference to different parts of the world, so that not just the local practitioners can enjoy first-class speakers and a first-class conference experience, but so that we can bring other people and other professionals to different sorts of countries so that they can experience public relations in that country and also understand the culture and the ways of working in that country.
Global Alliance has chosen Dircom, the Asociación de Directivos de Comunicación in Spain, as the partner for organizing this edition of the World Public Relations Forum. How are relations between the Global Alliance and Dircom?
Very good. Every 2 years we put out a bid to hold the Public Relations Forum. The Global Alliance always partners with a national association, and the bids that we get come from all over the world. And we had the bid from Madrid, and it was absolutely first class. It was about this thick, and every detail was covered of a potential congress here in Madrid. And we found our partners in Dircom to just be perfect examples of professionalism in running associations, and it's been a delight to work with them. Lots of new ideas coming from Spain. It'll be a different sort of forum that we have, and so we're looking forward very much to our event in September next year.
Among the assets of Spain in international reputation is creativity. So we are glad to hear that you have some new ideas, and
yes.
And there is going to be some innovation in this edition. Why should every peer professional communication manager in the world be part of the World Public Relations Forum in Madrid?
Well, a number of reasons, but first of all, we're going to have some high caliber speakers. So we're already sending out invitations to a range of people from around the world, and they won't just be speaking about public relations, because the temptation in such conferences is to just look at yourselves. So we're going to have some world-class speakers from organizations. Invitations have gone out to the World Economic Forum and to other substantial organizations to give a perspective of what's going on in the world, because communication is not just about organizations, but it's about setting that in context with what's going on in the world. We're going to invite people from Latin America in numbers, because for the first time we're going to hold the World Public Relations Forum in English and in Spanish. And the English-speaking community really has not benefited from the professional experiences of colleagues who come from Latin America at all, really, because of the language issue. So we hope that there's going to be a new community of practitioners that are going to come to Madrid to be able to share their experiences with us. So that's a first for Spain, a bi-language, a two-language conference. So that's just one of the innovations.
So the Global Alliance is building a bridge towards Latin American countries also.
Yes, I mean there are parts of the world when we're not, our representation is not as strong as it should be, and one region is Latin America. Another region is Asia, because some of the institutions and associations there are very new, very young, and we were having discussions yesterday about how we can facilitate some of the leaders of those associations coming over to Madrid, because these are emerging nations with new and exciting economies, different ways of working, and we need to learn from them. And one way we can do that is to get them here to Madrid, so we can find out from them firsthand what it's like to work in these exciting economies.
As you were saying, communication is becoming something bigger than public relations because with social networks, communication is everywhere. What are the other trends of communication today that you can identify and are going to be key issues in the World Public Relations Forum?
Well, you've mentioned one of the big ones, which is the explosion of social media and online communications. And that's been really a catalyst for massive change in our industry. It's made particularly CEOs and other senior leaders understand their vulnerability in many ways. Anybody from around the world can challenge them, and they have a whole range of new accountabilities to they don't know who, and therefore communications has become much more important in organisations. And that's actually made organisations look at themselves and look at their practices. It's no longer good enough to say one thing and do another thing, because somebody around the world will know what that other thing is and will bring that to the world's attention. So it's made organisations examine, what their whole purpose is and what their contribution can be. And this has meant that the role of the public relations professional within organisations is changing and becoming more and more important. So I think that's the biggest transformational change. And the other thing that's really come to the fore in the last few years is a clear understanding that everything an organisation does communicates. So yesterday, for example, we were out at the Santander City, and they've got an amazing environment there, as not just the buildings, but everything. You really understand this when you walk into the campus there, that everything they do, the nature of the buildings, the structure of the organisation, how people are dressed, everything, the discussions you have, everything an organisation does tells a story, and there's a dawning realisation that that's really important. And again, that's positioned public relations practitioner in a different place from a few years ago, when really public relations for many organisations was about media relations. Well, now public relations is about everything you do, and it's about contact with the whole range of other stakeholders, individuals, organisations that the company has contact with. So these are great times for public relations.
That takes us to the very theme of the World Public Relations Forum, which is communication with conscience. I mean, if everything communicates, we should be conscious of this fact. But communication with conscience has also a double sense of being conscious and also using communication in a more ethical way. Can you explain us why you and Dircom have chosen this theme, communication with conscience?
Well, we have to thank Dircom for coming up with the idea, and we really welcome that, because as you say, it's got several meanings. First, we have to be really conscious about the sort of communication that takes place. And that's not just about us talking to people, it's talking with, it's having a dialogue. So we have to be conscious of what they think, what they feel, and how they are communicating with us. So that consciousness, if you like, goes both ways. Us being sensitive to what's happening around us and understanding the context in which people work and operate, but also understanding that they too have lives, and that they bring a dialogue, and that communication has to be a mutual dialogue. The days of just sending out messages are done. And then absolutely, and this links really to what we were talking about earlier, that ethics begins to come to the fore. If everything you do communicates about you, you've got to make sure that the core is sound. And this is not just about communication ethics. This is about the whole ethics of organisations. And as we were saying earlier, this has begun to start a revolution in organisations where they really have to examine what their purpose is, and what they stand for, and what their values are. And to try and attempt, and it's hard to live up to those values. And so that means that when they're taking decisions, even at the most senior level, they've got to be aware that there are expectations on them, because they've said, these are our values, this is how we're going to behave, and people expect them to live up to that. And there's no hiding place these days. So the role of the communication manager in those circumstances is to make sure that senior leaders make decisions in line with consciously understanding the impact of that, but also ethically. Very important.
And to end the interview, I would like to ask you to look straight in the eye to the camera.
Yes.
And I will give you 30 seconds to convince every peer professional and communication manager in the world to be in the World Public Relations Forum in Madrid.
Well, if you care about your professional development and if you're passionate about your profession, you need to be at the World Public Relations Forum in Madrid in September 2014, because you're going to hear not only the best speakers in our field in public relations, but you're going to hear the best speakers who understand what's going on in the world. And if you're going to be a brilliant practitioner, you need to understand those things. So come to the conference in Madrid in 2014 and go away absolutely impassioned about our profession, because make no mistake about it, we are the profession of the future and we're the profession of now. Be there.